Hey, hi there, YouTubers. I'm back again with the Cummins never-ending project here. With the fuel issues I was having, I took a fuel gauge, and obviously I just ran a mechanical line nylon with actually fuel in it coming up here for the test. Now, obviously, I'm not going to drive my truck around with fuel coming into the compartment. So I've got a boost gauge, I've got a transmission temperature gauge, and in the mail, just moments ago, I got a glow shift, 30 pounds, good for 30 pounds, I guess I should say, pressure gauge. And I saw a bunch of these on YouTube. I saw a bunch of people were having trouble with them. This is an electric one. It has a sender in it in the back, and you can change the colors. And I think this is the reason people were having problems with them. You're supposed to install a snubber valve, which is basically, it's like a little valve, so you don't get that straight shot of almost 20 psi when you turn the truck on. And then, you know, it takes a second. It's like an isolator. Okay, sorry about that. The battery died. What I was showing you is I bought a 30 psi glow shift fuel pressure gauge, and I'm just looking at the gauge. The gauge's got like a magnifying effect to it when you look at it. It goes up to 30 pounds, and I guess it changes colors. I just want it white. And then inside you get the wiring harness. You get the sender for the gauge, and this brass thing here is the snubber. It has a little valve in it. Almost looks like a Schrader valve inside. The sending unit screws into the snubber. The snubber goes to your fuel injection pump. And of course they give you decals if you want them. And that's the back side of the gauge and nuts and so on. And I also got a universal 3-pod, which I'm going to take my gauges out. I'm going to replace the mechanical oil gauge that I'm using for a fuel gauge right now and put this fuel gauge in and have all 3 gauges on the pillar instead of just 2. So I'm going to do that next, and I'll show you how that's done, and I'll continue on with this in a little while. So I'll be back because my battery's dying. Be back in a while. Okay, here's part 1 of the glow shift assembly snubber to the sending unit. And when I get this bolted together, I'm going to put some Teflon tape on those brass threads, and then I'll show you where it goes on the injection pump. I've got a splitter on mine. I have a warning light and a sending unit. Pretty easy thing to do. So I'll update that in a minute. I'll be back. Okay, here's round 2. I removed the intake tube where it goes to the intake manifold just so you can get a better look at this. Here's the snubber valve to the sending unit. This is the mechanical line I have going into this T adapter. This is actually off one of my Harley Davidsons. So you can run 2 oil sending units. It fits. They're both 1/4 inch. I mean 1/8 inch NPT. And this little guy here is the warning light. This comes on at 5 psi or below, so you don't take out your VP44 pump. So I'm going to remove this fitting right here and replace it with this one. If you can see that, I can't really see what I'm doing. There you go. This unit is going to go where that one is. Okay, I'll be back in a minute after I stick that in. Okay, there's the snubber valve and the sending unit installed into the splitter fitting coming off the injection pump. And again, that black thing on the bottom of the wire is the low pressure warning light, little red LED on the dash pod. And that comes on and stays on. Shut your truck off or you're going to have a really bad day and take your pump out. You should put one of those on your truck. I think I got that for like $59. I think it was BD Diesel I bought it from. Okay, here's an update on the glow shift install. These are the glow shift wires. One's big wires coming from the sending unit, the other wire is tied into these other wires of hot wire, interior light, ground, and power. This is obviously my boost. This is the little LED. I just punched a hole in the, drilled a hole in the bottom pole there for the, that's the fuel pressure warning light. And now, being as this is just a universal 3-pod gauge, if you look at it, you see it doesn't fit. And what you gotta do is take your heat gun, heat that plastic up, push it in, and it'll take a shape there. Then I'll start installing the gauges, and the way it's going to work out, boost will be on the bottom, transmission in the middle, and fuel on the top, because I had the most wire for the fuel, so that's where it has to go. And I did pre-try the gauge. Gauge does work. Pretty cool. Alright, I'll be back when I get this a little further along. So far, so okay, that's about 5 minutes later. Maybe about 30 seconds with my little Harbor Freight heat gun. Softened that plastic up, wrapped it around with my hands, and it cooled right off. And I did the same on the bottom. So now it kind of almost looks like it belongs there. I'm going to try to hide the screws. It's time to put the gauges in and be done with this. Alright, I'll show you the final installation in a minute. Okay there, YouTubers, here it is. The triple dash pod is installed. That's the fuel pressure, my transmission temperature, and the boost gauge. And everything works. I'm going to turn this on, and you'll see it takes a second for that snubber valve to react, and then this thing will change colors, and it's showing that I'm getting 16-17 pounds of pressure on this gauge. So here we go. Showing 17. So I hope you can see that. Right now it's green. If you hit the button again, it turns red, blue, like a greenish yellow, purple, light blue, dark blue, and green. I think I like the green. Oh, went red all by itself. What's going on here? So anyway, I'm going to crank it up. Let's see what this does. From what I can see, it's showing 16 pounds exactly. If you watch down here, that little red light will go on when the fuel pressure drops. See when you turn the key? That little sucker comes on while you're driving and stays on, pull over. And this glow shift gauge does the little dance every time you start it. And then settles right in. Showing 18 pounds now. Well, who knows? That other gauge was an old mechanical oil pressure gauge, 0 to 100 pounds. They're usually pretty accurate though. So anyway, that's the completed install. So in a little while I'll take it for a ride, see what it does. But anyway, that's the end of the glow shift triple pod gauge install on the 2001 2500 Cummins Dodge. Thanks for watching.